So this powerful tool that I'm about to share with you is very helpful when a memory comes up in the body, like a felt sense memory. And what do I mean by that? So I would give you an example. Like I had a live show planned with another topic. However, life is happening while you're making plans. So it was last week. I was walking with my son, and he's now 9 years old. And we were walking in the area where he was born, and particularly the house where I carried him. And suddenly his father asked, like, do you want to go up? Because his father is still, I have to do something, else you're gone. His father is still renting that house. So I said, yeah, let's go up. And my pregnancy was, how to say it, was kind of like really challenging. I was very sick. I just had a car accident and my body was very weak. And so I had a lot of difficulty to carry this beautiful being who is now 9 years old. So, and how did that look like? Like I was I was vomiting. I don't know if you say it like that, throwing up, for 9 months every day. So I was nauseous from morning till evening, 24 hours a day for 9 months long. So that's very intense. Um, and I did a lot of healing process with my son, because of course he was in my womb, and I really believe that that has also an effect on him. So we have gone through a lot of like beautiful healing sessions and exchanges. However, I walked into the house last week, and suddenly I felt like pictures were coming back. I suddenly saw myself crawling over the floor towards the toilet because, it was all coming out. I'm sorry for, maybe it's a little bit of a too much information, but I do want to share the picture that was happening at that moment, but still, like 9 years later, that it came back. And not only the picture came back, also the feeling. So suddenly I felt my stomach more present, and I felt slowly getting nauseous. And I was like, this is interesting. I work with the body, I work with trauma, I work with healing. So those for me are moments that are so precious, because when those memories come up, which are not pleasant, I mean, it's not nice to feel, and to feel so nauseous or sick, or see those pictures how it was. That's not pleasant. However, those moments are really great opportunities to heal. So I was like, oh, this is great. This is kind of like interesting. I see my body as a laboratory of, and I am my scientist. So I thought, this is interesting, great, what's all happening. So, okay, so I went home, and the next day I woke up feeling so nauseous. I woke up, I was like, I haven't felt, and that's interesting, because take note of your thoughts at that moment. I haven't felt this nauseous, like since I was pregnant. And I thought, this is so interesting, right? This is no coincidence. So what I would like to share with you, and I'm sorry, somehow I don't see, the viewers or the reactions. So if you are there, please leave some hearts and likes. So, and even some reactions or questions. I would very much love to receive your questions or comments, and I will get back to you later. I will go back and comment on it. So, I would like to share what I did at that moment, at that day, to work with this memory, with this, it was not even a memory, it was like a reliving of the past. And how often do we recognize certain feelings, emotions, pains, physical pain, that reminds us of a certain situation or experience in life. So I call that technique somatic voice dialogue. So let me explain a little bit. Like, somatic means the relating to the body. And what I do with this technique is I go in dialogue with my body, with the body part that has a discomfort. And not only you talking with that body part, but also with the self in the psyche that is operating through that body part. So let me give you an example. What I did is, first of all, I shared it before, I place my hands on that body part that feels discomfortable, in pain. For me, that was my stomach. So I placed my hands on my stomach, taking a nice deep breath, starting to reconnect to that part. And I started dialogue with asking for permission. I'm not invading into my body like, now I'm here, I caught this and I want to talk. It's not like a demanding, but rather a loving presence and invitation. Like, hey, stomach, do you want to talk with me? Or are you open to talk with me? And then you just wait. You drop back, you wait for the answer. And sometimes is a no, sometimes it's not the right moment. And sometimes, and in this case, it was a yes. So I still placed my hands on my stomach then. And I asked, so what is happening? Or how do you feel? All these open questions as a curiosity to learn more about what is happening and really be present with that. So when you do that, when you have your hands on that body part, you take a nice deep breath and you listen in. You invite it to get to know each other a little bit better. Start to ask a question and then just be quiet. Just be quiet and take note of what is coming up. And that is for everybody different, that can come up in visual, in pictures, in images. It can come up as a certain feeling. Words can come up. So whatever wants to come to the surface, just make space for it to arise. So what I did is ask my stomach, and what I really felt in my body, that it was kind of like hidden. I felt suddenly afraid. There was fear. There was hiding. And suddenly shame came up. And it's so interesting. So that's then the first layer that comes up. And I asked the question like, can you share more about this? Can you share more about these feelings I feel now? And it started to talk with me. It started to share like, I felt so ashamed because my body was normally so strong. And even though I had the car accident, my stomach was always, very strong. I never had problems with it. So I felt how my stomach was telling me, or, whatever, it's the psyche, it's the self that operates through it. But that part was saying like, I felt so ashamed that I was not strong at that moment and couldn't carry the heavy load on your system. I was like, wow. And So, every time you ask a question, another layer reveals itself. And um, and then I asked the question like, was there something you would like to uh, tell to Miranda? So I'm not identifying with that part. It's more like, you have your core self, your center, and there are some parts that have some things to share. And there's always true wisdom in it. And at that moment, when I asked that question and the answer came back, I started to cry. And that is for me the moment where I start to release, I start to take in, take note, and incorporate the teaching out of that moment. So what it said to me is like, um, I wish I could get to Miranda back then and tell her to get help. Get help. And that answer really touched me because I remember during my pregnancy, I was not good in asking for help. I've learned this over the years, but back then I did it all by myself, and I didn't want to be, how to say that? Um, yeah, bugging someone else with my problems because I already had so much support with after my car accident. So when that came up, I was like, you know, uh, I remember those moments where I did reach out. I remember that I called my doctor and said, I'm really sick and nauseous and throwing up. But back then, it was in the very beginning of my pregnancy, and a lot of women are nauseous and throwing up in the beginning. It was not that obvious that it was really due to some problems in my relation in my pregnancy that would last for 9 months. So I often remember also my parents say like, go to the doctor, this is not normal. And I was like, yeah, I will wait, I will handle this, up until the point that I had to go to the first aid and like I was I had to go to the hospital and get real serious help, and was there for some time. So the the teaching out of this, and what I want to share with you guys, what I felt why it was important to share with you, is there are a lot of techniques to work with those memories that are stored in our fascia, in our connective tissue, that sometimes arises, and sometimes it's the moment to work with it. It's a great opportunity to work with it. And the second thing I wanted to share with you guys is the importance to reach out and get help. We all struggle sometimes. We all bump into the next level of our teachings, of our growth process, of raising your consciousness and awareness, expanding to your next level. And we need help. We need each other. We're in that process together, and that's what I wanted to share with you. If you are bumping into some struggles, just reach out to the person where you feel that person can help you to the next level. It's very strange because I really don't see any viewers or comments, so I really have no idea who's with me there. I will go back later and see what is happening here. Just as a side note, this is a very advanced technique to do on your own. So I would recommend, if you want to work with it, to reach out to someone and do this together. If you say, well, I do want to dive into some part that feel discomfort, I would suggest to write the answers down. So when you're connecting to that part that's discomfortable, and you want to ask it some questions, like an exploration of what is happening in the body, then take a pen and a paper and write it down. It will help you de-identify with that part, because there's no facilitator to help you through that process in that moment. It has helped me in the beginning to write it down, so you have some space between you and that part, and you can read it, and it's much easier then. So guys, I hope this was helpful for you. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. If you have some topics you would like me to address in these live shows, also, I'm very open to hear from you. Wishing you a beautiful day, and see you back in 2 weeks.